The 2021-2026 cabinet officially wound up its term following the final cabinet meeting chaired by President Yoweri Museveni at State House Entebbe.
We assumed office at a time of great uncertainty globally.
The Bavubi cabinet, as it became commonly known during its 5-year term, was rocked by the Karamoja iron sheet scandal, which implicated several ministers and led to arrests and convictions.
The Honorable Agnes Nandutu is hereby sentenced to imprisonment for 4 years.
Despite Alice Spectism, the cabinet completed its full 5-year term with minimal reshuffles, something uncommon in Uganda's recent political history. Only a few ministers exited government, largely due to corruption allegations linked to the Karamoja iron sheet scandal.
To his government property, to it 400 pre-painted iron sheets.
After the final cabinet meeting, President Museveni praised ministers for what he described as discipline and commitment in implementing the government's development agenda, crediting the term for contributing to Uganda's economic progress and political stability.
You have been mobilizing for the NRM. Therefore, the victory we are talking about of 71%.
Political analysts, however, say the outgoing cabinet leaves behind a mixed legacy.
I think we had what we could call, or they had what we could call the baptism of fire.
Many of them running up and down, trying to demonstrate they are doing stuff. If you ask me, is that how government should run? I am not sure that's what.
So people should not think that we are changing because we want to eat money, we want to do this. No.
Attention has now shifted to the composition of the next cabinet as lobbying intensifies among members of the ruling National Resistance Movement ahead of Museveni's new term in office. And the question now is, what will the next cabinet be called? The loggers or the dredgers? This is The Frontline. NBS Frontline.
Yes, welcome to the Frontline. I'm Simon Kagwanjala. Well, it's amazing to know that the Bavubi are out after Tamalta's 4-year tenure, characterized by acrimony, uncoordinated troop movements, a lot of public skepticism, scandal after scandal, and so much more. The big question remains, what will be their legacy? And what kind of foundation have they set for the next cabinet? Well, cabinet was dissolved early this week, must have been on Monday, where President Museveni hailed the ministers for their loyalty. At the initial stage, at the onset, the president came out in defense of his fishermen cabinet, arguing that he had taken a lot of time and effort in choosing what he believed would lead the country into the middle income status. Did they indeed perform? And where do we start from in drawing their scorecard? Joining me tonight is Prof. Roger Bargayomwe, a political analyst and lecturer, together with the Honorable Sarah Opendi. During the course of the show, we'll also be joined by Honorable Chris Bariomunsi, Honorable Lulume Baiga, and Honorable Fred Mukasa Mbide. Well, as we start the show, there are quite a number of highlights that defined the tenure of this outgoing regime. But the biggest feature in this cabinet was Right Honorable Robina Nabanja, the now former Prime Minister. Take a look at some of the moments.
Each other, we have had a number of meetings. Sometimes he doesn't attend. And I wanted to know who were the contractors. I wanted a report. You want to work with the Prime Minister's office? Please do the best. Museveni, Akoya, Bantuamatangana, Akola, Abapi, to one using the powers I have as the Prime Minister. I have cancelled your contract. Demolish their permanent structures. And in the same place, you put other people. How could, if it were your father? And I'm about to press the button for the message to say,
Oh, wow. So what is the legacy? We'll start on that very note. And Honorable Sarah Pendi, what a pleasure hosting you tonight. Woman MP Tororo, what will you remember this cabinet for?
First of all, this cabinet came at a time when we were just coming out of the COVID pandemic.
We were actually at the height of it.
2020, 2021?
Yeah, they came in at
yes,
2021.
Yes, 2021. So certainly we all remember what happened during the COVID period, that everybody was at home and there were a lot of lessons learned, including, for me, what I keep remembering at the beginning was His Excellency, the President of Uganda, trying to teach people how you can actually feed on the little that you have. You remember that portion on the plate where he came openly to demonstrate to Ugandans, you don't have to eat a mountain of food anyway. But most importantly, of course, when the cabinet was appointed, some people had a lot of doubts in the Right Honorable Prime Minister Nabanja that she will not deliver, but I think she has done her best.
So she has disproved naysayers.
Yeah, she has done her best, and well, of course, you need.
Where do you draw the yardstick from?
I draw the yardstick from on the side, of course, where she has actually been tough, speaking openly about some wrong things, taking on contractors, as you have seen, being a hands-on person who was always in the field, unlike some other prime ministers we've had previously, who were mostly office-bound. She was out in the field, you know, always visiting different parts of the country, even where we've had challenges, calamities, you know, the landslides. She has been out there visiting.
Is that typical of
Yes.
a prime minister, moving all over the place like a headless
Well,
chicken?
people have different work methods. Well, you are assigned the office, and it is then up to you to see how to execute your duties.
The
because-
leader of government business.
Yeah, but the leader of government business sometimes wants to see what is in the field. And that's why she was out there moving.
So she was hands-on.
Yeah, she was a hands-on person. That one, we should credit her for that.
Prof. Rogers, where do we start from in drawing parameters on performance? Is it about the NDPs, the key targets, or the reality?
Of course, in this case, what is looked at is the reality. The best practice would be looking at how they adhere to the National Development Plan. But right now, and I credit President Museveni for managing the politics of Uganda, he knew that he needed a cabinet which would then look at more of mobilization. Because of the threat he was at as a leader, he previously, you saw with the pressure from Dr. Kiza Besigye, the technocrats, the former, let's say, prime ministers like Prime Minister Mbabazi and Hakana Rugunda, who were gentlemen and more experienced, could not, and of course, who also were more interested in protecting their legacy and that of the country, could not have performed this kind of what would call what Nabanja, Prime Minister Honorable Nabanja has earned MBA, management by being around. For her, yeah, she has been managing by being around. Not necessarily that the impact is there, but she would go at every scene and show her presence. And of course, her nature was to counter opposition, and especially Bobby Wine and the NUP kind of pressure, because you see President Museveni had read into the regime that it would be pressure from the locals, pressure from the ghettos, pressure from the common people, and it was not the elite. These other prime ministers had a level of elitism, and Prime Minister Nabanja was a person who was going to go on the ground, tell every lie on behalf of the president. Also, if you look at her tone, she doesn't show that she does anything as a prime minister. Actually, if you look at the tone of all these Bavubi cabinet, it is not about we've done this, or the system, the government is doing this. Everyone, including on a barrio, including on a feeder road, she will say, President Museveni is saying this. He has said, even if the president didn't communicate to her on any action, everything is about President Museveni. So she has acted very well in personalizing, of course, the president, and in any case, stabilizing the governance. But
how do we draw a line between loyalty and competence?
Definitely, on the competence level, she scores low.
No, she's not alone. It's been an entire cabinet.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying if we went to move by competency and delivery, and also for the planning for the future, then this cabinet has scored really low, because their focus was more on the political mobilization. And in any case, and we will see this with time and with the ministers who will follow in their dockets, but most likely we are going to see failures. Institutional failures are continuing, because it is not about systems coming in place. I will give you an example for one case, one of the most royal maybe who would be, because for him even didn't need to be voted in, and I will talk about the Minister of Transport, Honorable Katumba Wamala. But he even failed to implement a simple traffic lights regulation, because he knew he also now had to adhere to the politics. It's not, and yet we know his personality competence when we saw him in police and in managing the army. But this time, on transport, I think you saw the airlines and then the roads, he failed because he could not then implement what is on book. He had to please the political players.
Well, thank you. Honorable Sarah Opendi, at the onset, the president christened this cabinet as fishermen and women. Did they indeed live to the name as typical fishermen, doing things crudely and vaguely and erratically?
Yeah, but what is a fisherman? What is a fisherman? Let's first understand. When Jesus said, I will make you fishers of men, I think the fishermen have delivered to the best of their ability. And why I must say that is that, of course, the role of the executive is actually to implement government programs, to implement the laws that we pass. And in as far as that is concerned, you must also know that you cannot implement certain things without resources. He was blaming General Katumba for not implementing the traffic and road safety fines. But you can't blame him, because this is a decision, much as the law is there, and it is his docket to actually implement the law as it is. This must be done after bringing cabinet on board, and cabinet okayed, of course, the fines, which I think are in the regulations, and following that, you also the outcry. Maybe what I can blame the executive for is always trying to move back on certain things.
Because of politics?
Yeah, sometimes things are political, and that's why we have failed to have order in this city. Look at what is happening today. Just that rain has caused the traffic jam. Up to now, there is traffic jam for those moving out of Kampala. So if Cabinet has approved something, for as long as it has been discussed and, you know, elaborately amongst all the stakeholders, proceed and implement.
You've once been a minister.
Just hold on. I just want to say that because it's one of the things that I'm very passionate about. Because these road fines had actually brought some order. In this country, we have people who are so indisciplined on our roads. And because of the indiscipline, you can see that we lose close to 17 people minimum on our roads every day. And those are the cases that are reported. In the countryside, especially those in the villages, we don't know how many die on the roads. So the indiscipline on our roads actually required this express penalty scheme to actually have been enforced without fear or favor. People had started driving careful on the roads. And when that was suspended, just look at, I don't know how many people died. Last month, we had road accidents almost on all the major roads in Tororo, towards Jinja, between Jinja and Iganga, between Iganga and Tororo. We buried even one of my cousins, one of the wife to my cousins, an officer in Bugiri district local government. She died alongside others. So people are dying on the roads because of indiscipline. So how I wish that the Ministry of Works can proceed to implement the express penalty
So
scheme.
the cabinet has bent more to politics?
Yes.
To politicking
Now,
over being tough?
Yes, yeah, they bend back. When they hear, you know, an outcry, then they withdraw. This trade order within the city, it's one thing. Well, I don't know, because I didn't know, I only saw it happening. I don't know whether they gave people time to actually vacate. But look at what is happening.
Well,
look at the border industry within the city.
Well, what was remarkable, again, during this tenure were the clashes between the Prime Minister and several of her ministers that made it to the public realm. How regrettable is this? You've been in the works of cabinet. At what level does it really explode to that level, to that extent?
Can you remind me which ones? Because
there was a time when Nabanja clashed with Hiraronek. There was another time when Nabanja clashed with openly with Honorable Lumumba, and several other instances.
Well, those are personality issues because I have served in cabinet and I don't quite recall. You may have disagreements with a colleague, but I don't move out with them. I don't move out. Those are personality issues, and I don't think I would be comfortable.
Infighting, the infighting.
Yes, the infighting will always be there and has always been there. But how you handle that infighting, it's individuals, how they actually respond to some of those challenges. I don't think I would be comfortable discussing that matter.
Well, Prof, when you look at the acrimony, the bad blood that has been running within cabinet, does it speak to anything?
Yeah, of course, one is when Prime Minister Nabanja was brought to be the Prime Minister, she was not a cabinet minister. She was, I think, a Minister of State.
Yes.
And
Handed over to her.
So there were more senior people, including her, and very even historical people. One of the people she crashed with was General Tafile. Another was even Minister Nankabirwa. So when they crashed on the UADCL, I think. So some of these people even know, not that one, they are more professional, they thought they were more professional than her. They thought they were more senior than her. Then they thought she's just a cadre person who does not bring so much of the technocrat kind of professional ingredient to cabinet. So many of them, of the ministers, despised her. And that's why I give her a bit of credit, because she managed to drive the ship up to the end. But there was that kind of people despising, and because of her background, she was a former RDC. And of course, that's where President Museveni saw her niche, her strength as a mobilizer. So that created bad blood, because many people didn't believe in her leadership role. And the credit I give is that she ignored all that and went on the ground. But largely, you see that Prime Minister Nabanja did not play her role as the leader of government business, because the real Prime Minister would be the leader of government business, and her role is not supposed to be in the marketplace. She's supposed to control and the cabinet, the ministers, and let them be maybe the foot soldiers. But instead, we saw on many occasions, including in Kampala floods, like Honorable was talking about, she would be on the front line, and many times she didn't have technical advice. She was just like a political player. Just the only credit would give her was that she knows the street language, but she was not technocrat at all, and she did not have. Because this is, if you're leader of government position, then you should be a bureaucrat, and you should look at presentation of government beyond internationally. She performed poorly on that, because, like I've told you, she just she knows the street language, credit to her, but she was weak in coordinating her troops.
To what extent did this cabinet redefine politics?
It has taken this cabinet has taken Uganda several steps behind. Because previously, if you see President Museveni's cabinet of 1986, it had technocrats, people actually, like you saw Professor Masaba, who was in agriculture, people were deployed in places where they had strength, and they were not necessarily political cadres. And then even the society had a value system, and it helped, because somehow there was a culture that if you see President Museveni appoint a minister, then he's a credible person just by being appointed by Prime Minister, by being a minister. However, with this notion, he has tainted his legacy, because right now people don't value that position of the ministerial position, because they've...
So was it downgraded?
Yeah.
Why?
It has been downgraded because of course, the interests of just promoting the personal regime agenda instead of promoting the national good. So a minister would be in position. That's why the Constitution empowers. It puts actually everything in the hands of a minister, not even the president. Our Constitution, the president should consult a minister. However, it's as if all these ministers got all the power and returned it to the presidency without even, because a minister is given some ground, and a minister at one level can challenge the presidency. But basically, you ask me the question and I'll tell you, they've downgraded from independence. We've never, not including even President Amin's cabinet, we've never had such kind of a cabinet, and it was, I think, intentional how President called it a fisherman cabinet, which brings a lot of shame to us as a society and a country, because then we agree that we don't need to use our best, because if you see this country, it has many people who have experience and they are technocrats and they know what they experience in their areas, but then we've chosen to use just mobilizers just for having just a message of a regime, NRM basically interests, otherwise having and ignoring the interests of the country. So the public good has been ignored and selfish interests.
Well, Honorable Lulume, a member of Parliament, Buikwe South, joins us now. Pleasure having you and a very good evening. Where do we start from in examining the legacy of the former cabinet that was dissolved early this week?
The legacy of the former cabinet was even dissolved. I thought it hadn't, because when we were debating this protection of sovereignty bill, the Prime Minister spoke as a Prime Minister to her group. So where was she deriving her prime ministerial authority? Anyhow, the President called it Cabinet of Fishermen, and we thought that it was derogative. We thought he wanted to downplay their capacity from the beginning, but I reminded members of Parliament, who are my colleagues, that me, who is coming from fishing communities, we wouldn't like to say that the President wanted to call it a cabinet of mediocres, because indeed the fishermen are very brilliant people. They know how to time without using scientific compasses, and they know where they would go.
Well, that was metaphorical.
So it was metaphorical in the biblical sense. That is what I think, because the President wanted a cabinet of political mobilizers. And the kind of work that Prime Minister Nabanja would do in terms of mobilization is way ahead of what the Super Minister Amama Mbabazi would do. Whereas, because these are the two people I can compare. I've seen them be performing as prime ministers, and there are things which Amama Mbabazi wouldn't do, which Nabanja would do. And that is exactly the feat that the President referred to, metaphorically, as a mobilizer, fishers of men. These were fishers of men. And I think
So you give it to them on political mobilization?
Yes, the appointing authority, that's the kind of cabinet that he wished. And I want to agree with my brother. There is no power in the ministry. The current setup is such that everything is handled by the President. He's omnipotent and omnipresent in terms of his government. And I think this has been calculated over time. Because I remember when Honorable Amama Mbabazi, Right Honorable Amama Mbabazi, wisected and went to inaugurate a dam, I think it was Isimba or something, without the authorization of the President. The President backed at him and asked him where he got the authority to go and inaugurate a project. Is it his project? We overheard these things happening, and never again did any other minister inaugurate such projects of capital nature, apart from when the President does it. That is why we were making observation that the President would do everything when he's invited, including when you are baptizing your own child. Simon Kagwanjala, he would be in position to come because he was doing the fishing of men himself. Now he had to get a cabinet that can fish the men. And I think his metaphorical nomenclature...
How much did this cabinet reflect of the president's vision, because he was looking at this cabinet for middle income status as a vision and the pursuance of PDM.
That was his vision. That was his vision.
At the onset, yes.
And whether or not he shared it with them and what they were supposed to do in order to achieve it is something else. Because the Prime Minister is supposed to oversee all other ministries. But what power does the Prime Minister have over the ministries? And what do the ministries have in their docket? For me, the first engagement I had with the Prime Minister was when we joined the 11th Parliament. And we went as a delegation from Boyikwe because we wanted power, electricity, because it is generated from our ends and it was not, it was passing our heads without people getting power. And he made a direction. I direct Honorable Ruth Nankabirwa. The first priority should be given to the people of Boyikwe because this is where the power comes from. Oh, we clapped and said, this woman is powerful. Nothing happened throughout the term of office. And then another time the Prime Minister came and said, because I was quarreling about how people were cutting away our forest land and grabbing the land which hosts the forests, the renowned forests that we have kept over time. She came and made an enunciation in Parliament. The President has directed that those who have been cutting down the forest, the natural forest from the forest reserves, must stop immediately and the permits withdrawn from them. I said, I think government is doing something. They stopped for only 2 weeks and then they repeated it. So I had to question again whether her directive holds any weight and said, this was a presidential directive and they must abide. I say they are not abiding. May I give you a lift so that we can go and see these forests? They have cleared all the forests now, and her enunciation and the display of power of speech could not work at all. I can mention very many things, including the report on schools. Then on answering Prime Minister's question, she would just answer because it had become a ritual. In the civilized world, okay, in Britain, in the UK, when we talk about a Prime Minister's question time, it is real. Technocrats are listening and they are taking notes and are willing to go the extra mile to implement the directive of the Prime Minister, asking for a supplementary budget if it is necessary.
Do you find it fair
fixing problems.
to look at Nabanja as the epitome of cabinet?
Oh yes, she's the Prime Minister, supervisor of all ministries, who must see to it that all ministries perform, including generating consensus on the ability to find funds to fund certain projects which needed fixing. For me, that is the Prime Minister I wanted to believe in, and that is in essence why we have one, and we have even prepared question time for the Prime Minister who should be understanding things. But it was a ritual. I got used to the ritual. And if at all you wanted justice to speak in Parliament, to be seen to be speaking, you could go into question time and ask a question. But whether or not it will be, okay, it would be answered certainly, but whether or not a problem would be fixed, that's another thing, and couldn't happen.
What would be your marking scheme? What would be the key features in your marking scheme upon which you would score the ministers? The parameters.
First of all, whether, because that's a wider subject, because it will depend on an audit of what we have sent money to do and what money has done. And we can gauge on the kind of projects that have been undertaken in health, in schools, and in infrastructure. We shall gauge the utilization of the road, of the 1 billion shillings which Parliament directed that be used. And some of those projects, yes, we can see, but that would be government-wide discussion.
Well, thank you. Honorable Dr. Chris Bariomusi, formerly a fisherman, right? A former minister of ICT. Until the other day, you were a minister. Now, a free person. How was it living as a fisherman for 4 years, 5 years?
Well, thank you very much, Simon. Good evening, fellow panelists, and good evening, viewers. I must apologize to the viewers that I am late because I am coming from Karamoja.
Still doing state duties?
I was officiating at a function where we're opening the UBC radio station.
As who now?
As a minister in charge.
You were dissolved?
Just hold on. Minister in charge of ICT and national guidance. Let me first clarify that ministers are still in office. I have been following the program from the beginning, so I haven't lost much because I was following. Yes, the president organized a luncheon for the ministers. Technically speaking, cabinet ends on the 11th of May, but the president has guided that the ministers will remain in office until when they hand over to the new ministers, and is going to issue an instrument to that effect. So it's so true that I am a former minister. I am a substantive minister for ICT and national guidance until when I hand over to the new minister, in case they bring a new one, or if I remain. So the ministers are in office. So those who did services from ministers should continue. The ministers will be in office until when the new ministers are appointed and take. Well, it's up to the president.
It's a precedent which I can use to guide the minister in charge of guidance. You remember when the late Professor Nsibambi thought that they could be minister after President Museveni issuing an instrument? We challenged it. We said if at all Museveni had not succeeded as an unelected president, then how could he make a cabinet that transcends a term?
So they removed
So we challenged it successfully. And
where?
It was challenged successfully.
Where?
In Parliament. And he dropped the idea, and that is where the former Prime Minister Nsibambi ended his tenure. So it is likely to be challenged.
Honorable Pen, do you want to come in?
I just want to say something. I think that is a contradiction that must be resolved. We need to find a way of solving that legally in one of our pieces of legislation. Because I recall that in 2021, serving as a minister, after the elections, I think we had our last cabinet meeting in April. I don't remember which date. And I remember there was a meeting in Arusha where the ministers were required to go. And the then guidance we got from the Attorney General was that we needed to seek for authority from the president if he can issue executive powers to us to go and attend that meeting. So I think the president was given gave a go ahead to the minister, and my colleague traveled for the meeting in Arusha. So that contradiction in some countries, once elections are done and concluded.
You're talking about a new government?
No. For example, in Kenya, cabinet parliament are dissolved before the elections. In some other, countries, they actually immediately after elections you cease when the elections are concluded. But for us here now, there is a contradiction because you could hear even when we were handling the sovereignty bill, some members were challenging the executive and asking, I think, the Honorable Semudio.
At the moment, there is no technical problem.
Yeah, it is.
Because the new government.
You see, there is this contradiction. So all I'm saying is that this contradiction needs to be resolved so that we have it clearly stated in the law as to when.
Actually, that is why the presidential transition bill, which I had authored, was trying to cure. The Dr. Bariomusi.
So there is that
Dr. Bariomusi, I'll give you ample time for response when you return. I need to look up the clause where in the Constitution where and how Parliament should, rather Cabinet, should be dissolved?
Yeah. It's a lacuna which needs to be solved.
The transitional provisions are not there.
Let's take a very short break, and when we return, Honorable Mario Munsi, one of the fishermen, will be doing a self-appraisal. Has Cabinet lived up to the public expectation, or it's been more of loyalty over competence? We'll be back.
NBS Frontline.
As Uganda prepares for a defining moment, the nation turns its eyes to the presidential swearing-in ceremony this May 2026. NBS Television brings you unmatched coverage from the Kololo Independence Grounds with in-depth live broadcast that captures every moment as it unfolds. Organizations, development partners, MDAs, and elected leaders take part in this historic occasion. Share your congratulatory messages and connect with millions. Call now 0772 860028.
In a fast-moving world, why are we still stuck with paperwork? Signing here, stamping there, moving from office to office. It's exhausting. Now, there's a better way. With UG Pass, you can securely prove your identity, sign documents, and access government services anytime, anywhere. No delays, no stress. Everything is instant, safe, secure, and government-backed. UG Pass, your identity secured. Available on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. UG Pass is a product of NITA Uganda.
In a digital world, not everything is what it seems. False stories today spread faster than truth, leaving us all wondering what's real. Disinformation misleads, misinformation misguides, and spreads confusion and fear. Dismiss, a campaign to help you think critically, question wisely, and verify thoroughly. Join us. Let's build a more informed Uganda, one truth at a time. Dismiss, inquire, verify, confirm. Together, let's fight fake news.
Across Uganda, the parish development model is paving the way for prosperity, helping families transform their lives through strategic farming practices, like the 4-acre model.
In our Chiwaro of 1996, we said first acre, put coffee. Second acre, fruits. The third acre, you put pasture for dairy cows. The fourth acre, for food, cassava. The good thing is that now cassava is also becoming a very good cash product, but at least for food. Then, mind you, the backyard. You put poultry for eggs, you put piggery.
I'm in a 1-acre plot of land. In this 1 acre, Your Excellency, I practice this banana plantation. I also practice coffee. I also have dairy, Your Excellency. Every month, Your Excellency, I get 500,000 from these bunches.
The 7 activities we recommended, they have a big global demand.
We have 10,000 Nile tilapia fish and 10,000 African catfish. And when we sell our 10,000 tilapia, we get in one harvest 20 million shillings.
Fruits, especially capsule, which is called, can do very high value crops like apples. And then finally, those who are near the wetlands, like the ones in Bukit who are wasting the wetlands, they should do fish farming, not in the center of the swamp, but at the edge of the swamp.
From coffee farms to fish ponds, the 4-acre model is empowering Ugandans to transform their lives. The parish development model is your pathway to wealth creation. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance.
NBS Frontline.
Welcome back. It's still the Frontline as we make an evaluation of the outgoing cabinet. Well, the Minister for Information and National Guidance has guided that the President is set to issue a statutory instrument guaranteeing the stay of ministers until after swearing in, right?
Until when a new team has been appointed and we hand over to those who are taking over portfolios.
Well,
so there will be no vacuum. There will be no vacuum. The ministers are in office until when they hand over to the new ministers.
You've served under several cabinets.
Yes.
This time, you were lumped up as fishermen. How has it been for you being a fisherman this time?
Did you have a boat?
Well, first of all, the label fishermen and women, if you have to be gender sensitive, the President was meaning I have picked ministers who are from the ordinary folk, because these are the people you have voted for and have picked from people who resemble you. So don't give a wrong connotation. And by the way, it's a reference to biblical times when Jesus didn't look for professors and the elites and so forth, and picked ordinary people who were fishing to go and be fishers of men, and they did the good work. Up to today, Christianity remains strong after 2,000 years. So do not look at the label of fisherman in a derogatory sense. Fishermen are hands-on, and I think we have been hands-on. But I can say, one time I asked the President, why did you call us fishermen? He said, for you, you are Luke. Luke, the one who wrote the Gospel of Luke, was a doctor. I said, you are a doctor. And I think for him, he didn't come from the lake. He was not a fisherman. But in my view...
so you were treated with exception.
But in my view, we have done our best. First of all, the public needs to understand what is the role of cabinet before you assess whether cabinet has performed or not. Cabinet is part of the executive. These are ministers and ministers of state who are appointed by the president, approved by parliament to assist the president in the execution of government work, particularly implementing government programs. And we hold weekly cabinet meetings. We sit in parliament on the front bench to defend the government and explain the government policy. You should assess us from that perspective. And one quick way of measuring whether, for instance, this cabinet has performed, you can look at the elections. Because Ugandans voted looking at what the government has been able to deliver in these 5 years. And the results show the president scored over 71%. Parliament is largely NRM. The local governments are NRM. And therefore, you should credit the cabinet that has been supporting the president to execute these programs.
Okay.
In the parliament. We've been there explaining. And
on a number of occasions,
yes,
you've not made it to parliament to explain government programs. The absenteeism of the executive to defend government on the floor and to account has been quite telling, hasn't it?
Well, it's not only executive. I think parliament, especially in times when we are getting on the ground to campaign, usually absenteeism is noticeable. Yes, for the front bench, on both sides, but even the back benches. You have seen the parliament at times when it is almost empty. That one, it has been observed. But we've been attending a parliament and explaining government position. The prime minister has been there leading the troops on the front bench and explaining government policy and responding to questions from the honorable members of parliament. I don't think you can say we have failed to be there to answer questions. Don't say because you were labeled fishermen that we are unable to answer questions raised by members of parliament.
There have been quite a number of glaring moments where you've seen the prime minister clash with her team. Some of the infighting has made it to the public realm. What really caused this friction?
Well, of course, when you are managing a team that has people of different backgrounds, different persuasions.
It never used to be the case.
No. You see, these days maybe you can say we are too open with the media. The media is very nosy. It picks things which maybe in the past would not pick. But in any community, any society, where you are managing many people, those things happen. Because the way I behave with situation is different from the way Honorable Baiga may behave, the way. So those things happen, but maybe how you manage them. But unfortunately, for some of those, they leaked into the media. But I don't think those.
No, but there were the big highlights. I'll give you an example.
Yes.
The clash between Honorable Lumumba and the Prime Minister, the clash between Honorable Tafire and the Prime Minister, the clash between Honorable Hilary Onek and the Prime Minister.
The one of General Tafire and the Prime Minister was not correct. There was exaggeration in social media, but there wasn't that kind of outburst.
What was it?
No. It was not there as such.
No, what was it?
Because I was in the cabinet when there was like, we were discussing COVID. Then there was a disagreement in opinion, but not quarreling and fighting. But somebody who leaked the media just created the hyperbole and misled. Like the issue of Honorable Kasure Lumumba and the Prime Minister was to do with the delegations to New York. I think there was a delegation which was under the Vice President, where Honorable Kasure Lumumba, and then another delegation was prepared, I think under Prime Minister. So there was just miscoordination, and then the thing just flared up. But we clarified it.
Yeah, but I think it spoke to...
But you wouldn't say that is...
It spoke to bad blood. You
really.
despised the Prime Minister from the onset.
Who?
Most of the team.
Not really. How? I don't think like those small incidences you are quoting would be the one to define how cabinet has functioned. They are just small incidences. But the Prime Minister, we respect her, and we have given her respect. And to me, she has done her best and coordinated very well, because the role of the Prime Minister is to coordinate the executive and be the leader of government business in Parliament, which role she has played very well in my view.
Yeah, but...
And it's so true that the members of cabinet disrespect her. She, at times, chairs the cabinet. You see, the president is the chair of cabinet. In his absence, the vice president chairs. In the absence of the vice president, the prime minister chairs. And she chairs and she reads us very well.
Okay.
So those misgivings which you are giving, I don't know where you get them from. You seem just to be biased. Biased simply because the president said we are fishermen. You think fishermen can't deliver, but we are a team of fishermen and women that has delivered for you.
What kind of impression or what kind of picture does this cabinet create of the state of the nation, where the president goes to the extent of picking the most inexperienced, and he comes out boastfully and says, this is all I have?
What do you mean by inexperienced? Would you consider me as somebody who is inexperienced, myself, in your view?
That's why they chose you as Luke. The president preferred to call you Luke.
Why do you... This cabinet had members from different categories. In terms of demographics, we have young people, we have middle-aged people, we have the older persons, we have both women and men. And I think the president tries to balance, as he constitutes cabinet, to look at different dimensions. Our ethnic extracts, our educational levels and professional backgrounds, he balances all those. And we get a team which blends very well. And I think this team has been working and has delivered. It is a team which successfully handled the COVID, because we came in at the height of the COVID pandemic and we managed it. Would you say the Minister of Health has not done well as the Minister of Health, Dr. Jenna Cheng, leading us fight COVID, for instance? This is a cabinet.
She defied the rules. She was the first to defy the COVID rules, you remember?
So, and she's part of the fishermen cabinet. This is the cabinet that has ushered Uganda into a middle income status. Do you know that? This is a cabinet that has ensured that what was pledged in the manifesto of 2021 has been put in place and implemented, like the PDM. It was a major pronouncement by the government. The party development model, it is on, up and running. The Myoga programs, the money for roads, the 1 billion, all these pledges made by NRM and the President Yoweri Museveni have been implemented, and the results are there. And that is why, like I said, Ugandans have been able to overwhelmingly vote for NRM because they assess what has been implemented, and it is the cabinet that has been leading the execution of these programs.
Honorable
the label of fishermen aside, in my view, we have delivered and the results are
You don't seem comfortable with that phrase of fishermen.
No, because this is what you are tagging as your flagship statement. As if when we labeled the fishermen, it meant, because I've been hearing saying, oh, we were just appointed to mobilize. Yes, we mobilize, but also we implement and deliver. You were criticizing the Prime Minister for being on the ground. So you should draw a difference. Is the best Prime Minister one who puts on suits and sits in office all the time? Or the best Prime Minister is one who sits in office, gets on the ground? Because we do monitoring and oversight as executive. When we pass money in the cabinet and the parliament, we have to get on the ground to see whether the money works. That's why I'm coming from Karamoja. When I go to supervise or to superintend of a function, I also assess other programs of government. So it's not correct to say the best Prime Minister is one who sits in office and does it. Honorable Nabanja, right honorable, is a hands-on Prime Minister who goes, she has been everywhere. And that's how you supervise and see whether government programs are being implemented.
Honorable Saropendi, is this the kind of lineup you would wish for the incoming cabinet?
That's a difficult question. You know that ministers serve at the pleasure of the president. So as the chief executive, it is within his powers to choose.
Or do you feel Ugandans deserve better?
No, you see, we already have a manifesto. And this manifesto is drawn from the National Development Plans that is actually running up to 20...
It's now NDP4.
Yes, NDP4. So already the plans for the coming years, the coming 5 years, has already been set. So all that the president now needs to do, actually, it's not the ministers that implement. It is the technical officers. The ministers are political supervisors in those ministries. So even without the minister, work will still go on. So I just want to state that as far as I'm concerned, for example, now we just passed the budget for the next financial year. And activities that are supposed to be implemented are actually known by sector. So all that, even if a minister comes or not, we want to see government implementing those programs, including the standard gauge railway that we are all yearning for. And we want to see alternative means of transport in this country. There is over-reliance on the road. And earlier I talked about the various road accidents. So for me, I want to see that standard gauge up and running so that we free our roads and have goods transported.
Yeah, but you would appreciate that this cabinet has been extraordinary. No wonder we are discussing it. It's been unprecedented to see.
I have indicated that they have done their best within their ability. And I must credit them, because one thing that I left serving as a minister was my wish to see us having a contributory pension scheme as a country. And I'm glad that that piece of legislation, initially, of course, it was introduced, but it had serious challenges and was withdrawn.
Okay. Do you agree that these ministers lowered the bar for the ministerial mark?
Well, I don't know what you mean by lowered, because already they have delivered.
Remember the times where
There
we
were
had
plans.
their mamas, the super ministers.
Oh, you see, you are
described
looking
as
at
the super ministers. And now we shift to fishermen and women.
Are you looking at the suits? Are you looking at the English? Are you looking at what exactly are you looking at? Because I have indicated that programs were implemented. He has talked about the PDM. For me, I'm looking at the legislation, which I'm proud of. I want to see that contributory scheme up and running, because there are so many pensioners out there who are actually suffering and crying because government does not seem to have enough money to pay everybody at the same time. So some get this month, next month he's off the payroll, others are not paid for some years. So when we have this contributory pension scheme, you contribute 5%, government puts in 10%, and when you retire, your money will be paid because you contributed. Actually, it's your money that government will invest.
Prof, does Honorable Dr. Baryomunsi give clarity on where they came from and what they've done so far?
Maybe let me be positive to the ministers and to preempt those ministers who are coming in very excited. After 40 years of the NRM government, they know they are witnesses here. Some of them will not just, they will hide these things. Right now in the ministries, after all those 40 years, there are some people who are like kingmakers or untouchables who are in those ministries. They will say, my sister Sarah here, Pendi, you're Minister of Health. But as you go, as these people are excited, go to this ministry, there are some of those people who, some are cadres, some are relatives, who will not let you do your work. And if, especially since they are politicians, as you start looking at the politics, you are sometimes, like the incidents we talked about at the beginning, are forced not to do anything. Because, first of all, how can you be a minister and you cannot even reshuffle your immediate secretaries? These ministers, some of them are so weak to reshuffle just their office attendants. Because the moment you reshuffle some of them, then the next day you might resign and go. And some are afraid of saying some issues to the powers that be.
Do you want to suggest that the Baryomunsis are powerless?
No, because they are powerless, because history has taught them. We have a professor who was called Masaba, first minister of veterinary. Then he was the first minister to flag off a red flag in parliament. And he said, you ministers, how are you operating? He saw most of them because they were just coming from the bush and they were rich. He said, where all of us are thieves, where do you get the money? And he was criticized in cabinet and he didn't last long. He didn't last 2 years, and that's where the history of corruption, which you see that this level, one thing we haven't analyzed in this talk show is the fact that about a third of the ministers were implemented in corruption, and it was evident.
Implicated?
Yeah, including the vice president, including the prime minister. Because in 1987, when Professor Masaba talked about corruption, and he didn't last. So it was a precedent that you don't talk about corruption. Actually, the silent agreement within the NRM cabinet is that we have to operate with corruption, but outside we condone it. So basically, the ministers are people who know that it is corruption which will help them attain or stay longer in their ministerial position. So, as I find some of these people in offices, like I've told you, the go-getters, the people who want to who have been there for long, and now the easy thing is that you play along.
Well,
so you don't oppose the status quo. So in that playing along, that's when I said they become powerless, and move on with the corruption tendency and the culture of corruption in that ministry.
Honorable Ulume, one of the key moments and the key highlights of this cabinet are the scandals. Take, for instance, the Babati scandal. To what extent did it paint an ugly picture onto the cabinet and their ability to stay on regardless as ministers?
I got so surprised that scandal didn't stay for a very long time, and I praise President Museveni for shielding his cabinet of that major scandal, the mother of all scandals I have ever seen in the history of this country. It depicted backwardness, and I don't know why they couldn't resign, but maybe because they had already been painted as fishermen. But by the way, fishermen are good people, and they are very intelligent people, as I told you, and I felt embarrassed that a man like me, who is representing people who fishing villages, you would call them fishermen in a derogatory manner. I know a man like Dr. Chris Barriomos, very brilliant person I have been with for very long time. Actually, if at all it is not Chris Barriomos in that cabinet, not because you are here, it would easily qualify to be a fisherman cabinet. The point is, what power do our ministers hold? One who actually, the Minister for Fisheries, not only fears, but even respects the Permanent Secretary, who happens to be a soldier. Permanent Secretary wields more power than the minister. Yet for us, we don't interact with Permanent Secretaries apart from when they come to defend their budgets. The person who must do the political accountability must be the minister. Therefore, he wields more power, even more than the secretaries they have. They must brief them. And briefing them, that is a power relation. But if at all you find a minister who cannot answer and wishes the permanent secretary should come and answer, then what power do they have? What about a minister who is going to wait for the appointing authority to answer a question in their docket? You'd wonder. Dr. Barriomos is here. I want to challenge him. Is there a minister who can do anything without a notice of the president? Or like in what? When the prime like minister, in their dockets, when the prime minister is chairing cabinet and you make those resolutions, can they really take root without really seeking permission from the president who didn't attend the meeting? Certainly not. You must read the mind of the president if at all anything must happen, and everything must be done in his name. That is why he must inaugurate, open this, open that, even when the ministers are available. This is what we see.
Honorable Barriomos,
powerless ministers.
How did you navigate, or how did you put up with such a big scandal? 26 ministers were implicated in the Mabati scandal, and they kept serving. Isn't that a bad mark on cabinet?
Implicated by who? You see,
not even implicated. Found guilty.
First of all, professor, I don't know, is the professor in what?
Political science.
Gone are the days when the professors were professors, because he seems not to understand how government functions. He thinks the role of a minister is to transfer secretaries and so forth. That's not our major role. But let me
give you information. What I said,
yes.
This constitution gives a minister a lot of power, like Honorable is saying.
Yes.
However, in practice, it is not the case. And Minister Opondo...
Which powers are you referring to?
Which
powers? Powers to do what?
Sorry, yeah?
Powers to do what which we have not done?
Many times, we see you ministers, even when it is a small function where you would say, this ministry has done this for you.
Yes.
Many a times, we see everything, the president has done this.
They are messengers.
They are messengers, exactly. They are official. Like there is authority which the people and the constitution.
They cannot say government is doing
exactly. They cannot say government. The president. So you
First
have.
of all, maybe you just have bias or phobia for the president. But the president
no.
is the head of government. The president is the one who appoints ministers. The president is the chair of cabinet. So for Honorable Baiga to say, we toy the president's line, what's wrong with that one? Because the president is the head of the executive. And therefore, we are not in the cabinet to rebel or to contradict the president. The way cabinet functions, Honorable Sarah has been in the cabinet, is that when issues come, first of all, we generate papers for cabinet as ministers, whether policies or bills or whatever business. And then we discuss exhaustively and generate consensus, which consensus now binds all ministers to have collective responsibility. When we go into the public, we must support and defend the position cabinet has taken. That's why you see me on the media center explaining to the public some of the decisions taken by cabinet. So don't expect the minister to come out and contradict the president and you think that's when the minister is strong. No. That one you needed to understand. And I thought as a professor of political science, you would know that the minister is not expected to publicly contradict the president because we are there
How
of the
NRM depart from
if you
the
are
other
contradicting
phenomena?
him, you do it within the cabinet. And sometimes we disagree with him. But once cabinet has taken a decision, then it binds all of you as members. When we come to parliament, we must market that position. When we go into public, we market
just a quick one. What has cabinet agreed on transition, for instance?
Transition, we have not discussed it.
Okay.
And the constitution is very clear on how transition is managed. Now,
That's
let me
for the
come
next
to your
cabinet.
question. The transition, if you want me to comment on it, the constitution is very clear. If, for instance, the president ceased to be a president, say by death, God forbid, then the vice president takes over. Then within 6 months, election is organized. It is in the constitution. If the president, for any other reason, is not running, then the parties will come up with the candidates and who will be nominated, and then we go into elections. So there is no confusion at all on the question of transition. I know you, the opposition, define transition to mean President Yoweri Museveni leaving power. That will be up to the NRM party, whether to field him or field another candidate. But let me answer your question on Mabati. Now, we have discussed and explained this. Now, the Mabati saga, maybe for those who are hearing it for the first time, these are iron sheets meant for Karamoja with its specific challenges, and they are under the custody of the Office of the Prime Minister, the Department of Karamoja Affairs, which has 2 ministers, the Senior Minister and the Minister of State. So for, I don't know, whatever reasons, the ministers or the department decides to allocate these iron sheets to some ministers.
Themselves.
Not some ministers. So you are here as a minister, you get a call from the Prime Minister's office that your constituency has been allocated 200, 500 or a number of iron sheets for your constituency. We know that the office of the Prime Minister usually has these items for disadvantaged communities. So ministers pick these iron sheets. And for me, the people I fault would be if you pick these iron sheets and use them for personal use, well knowing they are from government.
And that's exactly what Honorable Ugolobi did.
I don't know. Honorable Ugolobi explained that he put up, I think, a goat shed for, as a community project for youth. I don't think Honorable Ugolobi sleeps in a goat shed.
Did you find that plausible? A personal farm?
Well, he says it was for the youth project. That's what he explained. Now, so the people I would follow are those who pick the iron sheets knowing they are government property and then use them for personal use. Number 2, those who have questions, and maybe that's why Honorable Nanduto has been charged and convicted. if you are the ministers responsible for Karamoja, and you know these iron sheets are meant for Karamoja, but you decide to give them to members of parliament or ministers who are not from Karamoja. There they have questions to answer. But take an example, like I remember the Right Honorable Kadaga was explaining. The office of the Prime Minister allocates iron sheets. I have a government health center in Kamuli, which was blown off by a hailstorm, and they have been wanting iron sheets. She takes iron sheets and roofs that health center. Would you say she has stolen? Would you say she's a thief? And I think it was on that basis that many of them were exonerated. If I have a school in Kanungu, a government school has been blown off, these members of parliament know the pressure that the constituents put on us. Okay. And you get those iron sheets from government and you use them to roof that government school.
Was it so big a scandal that it dented cabinet?
Well, of course, the media hyped it.
Hyped?
Yes, hyped it. But in essence, it wasn't. I'm looking at it from, you get iron sheets from government.
The iron sheets
you
which moved to the
you roof a
Minister of
government school.
Finance's home.
You roof a government school. You roof a government health center. Would you take me as a thief?
No, I don't.
When I haven't sold them, I haven't used them for private gain.
I think the minister.
And that's why many of them who were named were cleared by the DPP.
For me, I think the minister in charge of national guidance should never sanitize this issue. Sometimes you need to take responsibility and say, we are sorry, Ugandans. After all, you are in government. You have said you performed very well and you got the most many votes. It doesn't cost you anything.
What
For me,
what I have explained, where have I lied?
The decent man
where do you disagree with me?
Where I disagree with you,
Honorable, you say these are Mabati.
Yes.
Meant for Karamoja.
Meant for Karamoja.
For Karachunas.
But they are not
for
labeled.
Karachunas.
No, they are not labeled the Karamoja.
They were.
Labeled, they are labeled the office of the Prime Minister.
They were labeled Karamoja.
No.
The procurement was done.
I'm saying no.
And
You put
it
the
was
picture
meant.
There. You put the picture and see whether it's saying office of the Prime Minister.
And I want to save you.
No,
respectfully.
I have no crisis to
because I want your reputation.
Because it is intact.
Really.
I was never beneficiary of these iron sheets, so my reputation is intact. You are not anything
don't sanitize others.
No.
But as in charge of national
So are you
guidance,
saying the DPP is so daft that he cleared them, she cleared them when...
You see, when we are talking about state capture of institutions, this is what we are talking about. President Museveni is managing politics the way you are trying to do it. But as a man that I know with integrity, you may not need to sanitize this. You say, we are sorry, this can happen. Nandutu has been sacrificed. But I think we can even redress that. And you proceed.
And then we give you information. In decent democracy,
you cannot talk about
even
a man.
If you are not directly involved.
A man in the Minister for Finance tells you, iron sheets came to my place. I don't know how they walked. Then the Prime Minister. Then a Speaker of Parliament. Then you cannot feign. You cannot feign a lack of knowledge where these iron sheets were coming from. Incidentally, did they request for them? Be it Kadaga. Did she ask for those iron sheets?
But I've told you.
You said they were allocated? How do they know the number?
Honorable Pendi, you want to?
Please.
I don't know why we are extending this. Because I think that was a scandal. We must agree it was a scandal.
No, the minister says, explains, goes to an extra mile to explain.
No, what I want to say...
How okay it was
to sanitize.
No, there was a scandal, of course. And I think, and some of the ministers actually returned these iron sheets. If the iron sheets were actually given to them, and they were supposed to have taken them to
those who had not used
school
them,
or wherever, some even bought the iron sheets and actually returned them. So that was a scandal. There is
another one got them from the shed.
Let's only agree that such should not happen. Honorable Chris, I was with you in the Ministry of Health. We didn't carry mosquito nets and take to allocate to ourselves to go and distribute. What happened is that these mosquito nets arrive at the district. Just like the iron sheets and other items, the district must know that so many iron sheets have been brought and...
Procedurally.
Yes, Yes,
But you also know that the NADs used to give us maize seeds to take to constituencies. Why are you not condemning that?
Well, but
yes, so there has been that practice where at times items are allocated to members of parliament to deliver. That has been happening.
Allow me.
That is where iron sheets for Karamoja.
Allow
not
me,
for
Honorable Chris Variomonsi. I think that matter is not disputed. The president even wrote on this matter regarding the iron sheets and asked the ministers, if you know that you took these iron sheets, which were meant for a particular area, return them. And those who did not take them to schools or churches or for community use actually returned them.
That's true.
And yes, like Honorable Lugorobi.
So it gave them a bad tag.
Yes. And what we must also accept is that there was money allocated and these iron sheets were procured using that funding. Remember that Parliament carried out this investigation and there is a report to that effect. So once you have monies allocated for a particular specific activity, for example, this money was meant to purchase. There were even goats, by the way. You're not talking about the goats. There were goats, there were iron sheets. So this money was meant to procure these items, to take.
And these things are debated in cabinet.
Yes, but
to take to Karamoja. Let us not, you know.
As a receiving minister, how would he or she know that is the other budget and so forth?
But I thought you know how things are gotten from the
There are people who innocently received. Yeah, they are, no, like I may learn that there are iron sheets being given. I have churches in my community. I will write to the Prime Minister. And when I'm allocated, I think those, you cannot now, you know, hold me.
But actually, it is even wrong.
Not in the dead of the night. Someone calls and tells you, come and pick.
It is even wrong to say that when I am allocated, when a certain project is allocated, because you write on behalf of a certain project.
Okay, following your letter, we are, yes, I get a response to my letter. You can't fault me for that. And that's why, from the 26th, we saw that, I think they zeroed on only 3 of the ministers who were at fault. The others were actually innocent. They had
they were not innocent because their ethics even agrees that you should, these ministers, by the way, are supposed to declare even gifts. So we've derailed as a country, we've lost our value that even the Minister of National Guidance can misguide the nation, that these unethical issues are a common practice. Like you've heard him say, that this is a common practice, we should follow this kind of route, and this is how, I'm telling you, the previous cabinet has derailed from focus that now things which are abnormal are being normalized.
So are you saying the DPP doesn't know her work? Because she has now since become a principal judge. Are you saying she doesn't know the law or she didn't know what to do by clearing all those other ministers?
We are saying there are many faults in the system.
Are you saying you are more competent on the matters of law and corruption?
Not myself.
Than her team,
we are saying there are many faults.
So why do you think?
Okay.
Why do you think some were prosecuted and others not?
Do you want to carry this as one of the legacies of the outgoing cabinet?
No.
Scandal after scandal.
No.
Theft.
I am insisting that the fault largely lies with those who were
responsible,
having custody of the iron sheets. They knew their destination, but for some reason they chose to give them to constituencies which are not in Karamoja.
Yeah, but it's now haunted all of you.
No, I'm not.
This is a cabinet that is tainted by a scandal of that magnitude.
On my face? Do you see me haunted by it? No.
No, you're defending. Your role is to defend. You're doing your role.
No. It is to explain and
the rationale
clarify to the public and say there is a reason why some were prosecuted and others were exonerated.
Honorable, you find it rational that someone should steal iron sheets made for Karachunas in Karamoja?
I have asked you that if the office of the Prime Minister has allocated iron sheets and those iron sheets are used to roof a government facility, would you call that person a thief?
Misappropriation.
In your heart of hearts.
If it is funds.
Would you call that person a thief?
It's misappropriation, isn't it?
By who? Whom do you blame?
The taker
who knows?
And the giver.
No, you see,
the
office
giver
of
and the
Prime
taker in
Minister
this case
is known
are culpable.
as the office which has relief items. And that's why, like Honorable Sarah
is that
said,
the modus in which you get things from the office of the Prime Minister?
said, members of Parliament, where you are approached this, there was a storm which has ravaged this, and we write to the office of Prime Minister to provide those items.
Okay. Actually, relief items are not should not even be provided to individual members of Parliament or even ministers. There are ways in which disasters are managed. There are disaster management committees at the district level, and they get their information from the sub-counties or parishes where this has happened. And there is a conduit, there is a way the movement of those relief items
is coordinated.
Happen. Not through you directly. As a member of Parliament, I have resisted that kind of temptation myself because I know how government should work. So for me, Honorable Dr. Mario Monsi is my friend, and I want to insist the NRM government owes Uganda an apology because they set a very bad precedent, a very bad example, and you still propound this kind of example to the rest of the people who respect you and want to continue to respect
DP which you belong to.
DP you took it over and you should even apologize.
Yeah, but, look at the color. Okay, how do you get off this legacy that has come to haunt you as part of the record of the cabinet?
Who tells you it is haunting us? It is you who is haunted. We have moved on. We have delivered for Ugandans.
Isn't that being shared?
They have a shared conscience. Those errors were rectified. Like Sarah said, those who still had iron sheets were requested to return them, and they did. And we have moved on. We have moved on. So, if you think it is a huge scandal, it is just in your mind that it is.
They have a shared conscience.
But in the minds of Ugandans, it's not a big deal.
When you're looking at the mixed legacy of this outgoing cabinet, it looks more like the scandals, the incompetences, the clashes have outshone the good things. True or false?
I already said that I will not answer that one.
Why are you being too cautious?
Because it depends on how you look at it. Because I already said that there are so many good things. PDM has actually been, I must say for me, the PDM has overshadowed all other programs. All other, all other programs of government. And for me, the PDM is something that has gone out to save the ordinary rural person who had never benefited directly from this government. Remember, we've had so many other programs, right from even a Myoga, but the ordinary person would actually not receive this money. We've had other programs, I forget the very first one, where government would send money to the district, even under WEP, the Uganda Women's Entrepreneurship Program. But the money would remain hanging at the district level. And it was only the connected who would get this money. But for PDM now, you find a woman... Is
it pegged on cabinet? Is PDM pegged on cabinet, you think?
Yeah, because it's cabinet that passed it.
Government policy.
It was government policy. It's cabinet that actually came up with this whole program. From the Myoga, we felt that a Myoga was, for a certain class and restricted to particular enterprises. Now we said, instead of these monies, for example, WEP, you want to help the other person who can't go to the bank to actually borrow. This person wants to do some business, needs maybe capital of just 500,000 or 200,000. Why don't we actually go and empower them with this 1 million shillings? And that is how you now see, by the way, there are very many success stories out there. People who have actually benefited and are doing well today.
Beyond the roses that Honorable Mario Monsi seems to paint of the cabinet, what kind of politics has this cabinet ushered into the Ugandan political landscape?
Yeah, before I come to that, I want to give them credit. The PDM, on ground, have done personal research. Ordinary people are getting that money. However, the evaluation of PDM is going to be after about 4 years, especially when that payback period is. Then we'll know if it was PDM or it was just...
PDM, the payback has already started.
Yeah, Auntie,
it's 2 years.
But is it complete?
Yeah,
then we'll want to calculate the return.
Nobody has paid a shilling.
That's when I will, as a researcher,
People are paying back.
we'll evaluate you on that. But back to your question. Given that I have to give them credit for the PDM, generally, the truth is...
The kind of politics that this cabinet has ushered, because they were hands-on, you've seen the likes of Balam intervening in negotiating the rescue, or rather the release of political prisoners. You've seen Nabanja on the matter of Chibalama.
Yeah, the evaluation is that this was not a normal cabinet. President Museveni did it to counter, he's a military man, he had to counter NUP. And because he saw NUP, they are organizational, they are ghetto people, that's why he brought a fisherman cabinet. In him, his understanding, it's not the best. These are not technocrats. They are just to counter. He used sort of a military kind of tactic to counter NUP. And on that,
they've succeeded, right?
They've succeeded. But he knows it is not a normal cabinet. And this time round, I don't think he should deploy to Uganda such a cabinet, because there is not now maybe a ghetto threat or something like that. If he's interested in legacy, then he should look at, because the legacy is for President Museveni, is for Minister Baryomunsi, is for Minister Sarah. It is Uganda will put you in history. If you're interested in that legacy, then let the president not deploy a fisherman cabinet again. Most of you've said you are Dr. Rook. You've confirmed. I'm telling, largely, if you go to see the cabinet from, I've done an evaluation from 1986. This has been an abnormal cabinet, including even Amin's cabinet. They were more thorough than this one.
Honorable Chris, you'd give us a contrast.
Yes.
How do you contrast between the Amama cabinet, or the Ruhakana Rugunda cabinet, and the Nabanja cabinet?
Well, each cabinet makes its contribution and moves on. And well, I don't have a yardstick to say this one scored 60, this one scored this. But for anybody to say we are not technocratic, and you think all of us have not gone to school, I may start doubting your competence also to do the assessment. You must first of all understand what cabinet is supposed to do, and then you assess it. Have we brought bills to Parliament?
How do you
have we
compare?
initiated policy?
How do you compare the Nabanja cabinet to the Amama cabinet?
Well, the difference would be that the Right Honorable Nabanja has been hands-on. In addition to sitting in office, she goes out to supervise government programs. She's been in Western Nile, she's been in Karamoja, she's been in Chigezi, she has been, which to me is a plus. Is a plus. And
isn't that for the cameras? Isn't that for the cameras?
No. You see, we sit in the cabinet, approve a budget. We bring it to Parliament, Parliament appropriates. This money goes to districts. You can't just sit in Kampala. You say we have sent the money to Kanungu, to Kisoro, to Yumbe. It is not enough. A prime minister who goes to Yumbe and Karamoja and says, the money we have passed, is it reaching? Is it doing the right thing? What are the people saying? I think Honorable Nabanja, in my view, has done very well.
Well, as we take a break, we would love to share with you some of the moments where Honorable Nabanja and Honorable Semujunganda had their moment. Take a look.
Mr. Speaker, the procedural issue I have, I even raised it when the Speaker said the Deputy Speaker will go to the war. We signed a contract and the Minister of Health was supposed to represent Uganda. The Honorable Ruth Acheng, a medical person, and her team went there, they were chased. The contract was now put under the Prime Minister and Honorable Robin Anabanja, who I respect, but she's not a medical person. Can we be told why health? Because I was in this parliament when we are adopting this resolution and said health will represent us. It was chased. Now the Prime Minister said, I am a Catholic, me, I went there. Did we ask you to go and represent us?
Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, I feel Honorable Semuju should be educated that I am the lead of government business in Parliament. Under Article 108, I'm not an intruder in this house. And so, I represent you, even you, Semuju. Yes, I'm not quarreling, but I thought I should educate my brother.
NBS Frontline.
Hey, travelers! Are you a family gearing up for that big vacation, a hustler working abroad coming home, or your squad chasing sunsets and passport stamps? It's time you lock in. Say goodbye to long airport queues, shocking roaming bills, and the stress of hunting for local SIM cards, because now you can travel like a local. Stay connected in over 180 countries. Just scan, tap, and boom! Instant data the moment you reach your destination. Get your Rogue Travel eSIM today at travel.roguetelecom.co.ug. Contact us on 020-5000123.
Each and every one of you are in a special race where you've got to win. You've got to come out on top. Hallelujah! I'm telling you, if you set up a shop somewhere on a street, it must be the most recognized shop. Whatever you are engaged in, you'll have arrived when you are on top, when no one is above you.
Watch The Power of Prophecy with Prophet Elvis Mbonye this Saturday, 6:30 p.m. on NBS TV, Uganda.
Breaking now. Now Post delivers Uganda's fastest, accurate news as it happens. From hard-hitting headlines to exclusive interviews, we bring details of stories everyone is talking about. Accurate, fast, and balanced. Get every update at nowpost.co.ug. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and never miss a moment. The Now Post. Accurate news, fast.
The world is going digital, and creativity is no longer just a passion, it's a pathway. Next Creator is building dignified job opportunities for young people by turning creativity into real careers. It's about more than just content. It's about learning digital skills that lead to sustainable income, branding yourself with confidence, understanding influence, and the digital economy. Next Creator equips young creatives with the tools they need to grow, adapt, and thrive in a fast-changing world. If you want to turn your ideas into opportunities, if you want to make creativity work for you, this is where you start. Next Creator. Your skills, your future, your opportunity.
Frontline.
Photo. But we are fortunate that Kibarama was traced. He was arrested recently in October in a place called Kakiri, and he's one of those that is claimed to have killed police officers in Chiboga Wakiso, and other places. So there are those who have even declared and accepted that they have been, they are attached to the other rebel group, Coalition for Change. Remember? So such people really cannot be arrested like you are chasing a chicken thief. There are those that you have to use.
When they are shot, they try to resist or not?
Some of them have been shooting police officers, and you are aware. Are you not a Ugandan? So colleagues, I think I have given enough.
Well, Frontline, Honorable Yomunsi, that remains an unanswered question. As you get out of office, the Prime Minister said, you have Chibalama. Where is he?
Which Chibalama? There are many Chibalamas.
Noops Chibalama.
Basically, that was the time when there was this issue of political prisoners, which was just being used for politics. But all those who were arrested, I think we are arraigned before courts of law and charged.
Where is Chibalama?
They are those.
Your Prime Minister said you have Chibalama.
Which Chibalama? There are many Chibalamas.
The political prisoner who was the Noop supporter who was picked in Kalangala, who has gone missing. Actually, his wife even died.
Yeah, even in Kanata, Muhammad.
Some of those so-called prisoners actually were aided by Noop to get out of the country, and many of them are in Canada. In Canada, on Ucheyo, I can tell you. I have been to Canada myself. I have seen some of them. But on the specific Chibalama, I have to cross-check with security.
Your Prime Minister said you have Chibalama. Up to now, he has never been put anywhere on trial.
You need to codify Chibalama who?
No, me, I know Kanata Muhammad. Kanata Muhammad, very known to me. He was former resident of Kampala.
No, at least the Prime Minister confessed. Does it speak to
you will ask her,
gaps?
I saw you saying you are hosting her tomorrow morning. You will ask her.
Does that speak to gaps in communication in cabinet?
No. That's why I'm saying which Chibalama, qualify the Chibalama who. Because
the Noop supporter who was picked and went in Communicado. The Prime Minister said there is a missing person called Chibalama.
But there was also Chibalama who escaped, who went outside for Cheyo, among those. Actually, many of those so-called political prisoners whom were raising that time went out of the country, and they are in Cheyo, especially in Canada. That I can say.
The Prime Minister said, you have Chibalama. Where is Chibalama?
I have to cross-check with the security to know which Chibalama exactly, because I don't have a track of all those people who were arrested. I have not got to know that this person was charged and this one was remanded. You have to cross-check. But you also need to give the full names of the Chibalama you are talking about. Because there's only, I don't think they have only one Chibalama in Uganda. There are many people who go by that name, Chibalama.
But this is the Chibalama in question. It's like when you are talking about Barrio Mons. I have not heard any other Barrio Mons.
They are there.
Moses Chibalama, a member of the National Unity Platform, who went missing.
Do you have evidence that he went missing?
The Prime Minister came out herself and said, we have Chibalama. No, you're the spokesperson of government, aren't you?
No, a spokesperson is not God to know the whereabouts of each individual. I would have to cross-check with security, for instance. Like there are many prisoners in Ruzira. Are you asking me to name all those prisoners simply because I'm a government spokesperson?
Going ahead.
But also, that issue of political prisoners has just been hyped. You see inflated numbers and so forth, just for politics.
Honorable Pendi.
And as far as we are concerned as government, that nomenclature of political prisoner is not accepted by government. Individuals are arrested on the
for
basis
their political
of suspicion
beliefs.
For crimes. No. You are opposition. Why haven't you been arrested? You.
I am a journalist.
No, a journalist. You mean you can't be arrested as a journalist?
Journalists who have been arrested.
You get arrested because there is suspicion that you have committed a crime. not because you are DP or NRM or FDC or what. There are many members, these members are opposition. Have they arrested them?
Oh, I've been
Have you
arrested
been
several
arrested?
times.
Are you in
But
prison?
I'm not crying to you.
No. So, Ugandans are arrested on the basis of committing crime.
Well,
it could be true you commit a crime during a political season and you subscribe to some party or political persuasion, but
put
it's
him
that
for
crime
5
you have
years.
committed that makes security arrest you, not the political party that you belong to.
Well, moving on, Honorable Saro Pendi, this is a time where I believe the formation of cabinet is taking shape. What kind of cabinet does Uganda deserve, given that this incoming term is widely described as a transition term?
First, allow me to thank the President for having led this country for the last 5 years peacefully. And moving forward, of course, the kind of government or cabinet that Ugandans would love to see is a cabinet that will actually, work for the people. And most importantly, the sticky issue that remains is the issue on corruption. The President has been speaking about that, and I really want to call upon the President as the head of state that let's move away from speaking about corruption and take action. The President is a consumer of intelligence information. He has all the information about the corrupt public officials, and let us stop the selective implementation of this. Let's stop dealing with corruption in a selective way.
There's been more of stunts. You see the Prime Minister coming out to say, I'm the Majegere, she's on top of graders, she's doing ABCD all over the place. And to a great extent, it looked pleasant to the voters. How about we adopt that style? And why would you begrudge them?
Yeah, that's why my fear was that we are going to take that as the normal, the usual. And right now, if you put any prime minister, if you go to see all these bureaucratic institutions, usually, like the leader, especially the leader of government business, the prime minister would be coordinating his troops who are on the ground. However, because of this kind of politics and the politics of President Yoweri Museveni, which has been good to stabilize the country, however, we cannot continue like this. We have to have institutions. That's why you see these people are strong. Now, Honorable Nabanja is strong in Bunyoro. President Museveni all over. However, if you are going to build institutions...
What is politics after all?
Yeah, that's why I'm like, you have to play the balance between politics and then the establishment of institution for the future. And indeed, if you go in decent democracy, when a politician is in office, he looks beyond 5-10 years, because all these people, like I respect Honorable Sarah up to now, because I've been following her work for maybe over 20 years from parliament in cabinet. You get it? Now, it would be unfortunate if she thinks she's working for her 5-year tenure. No, she's working for a legacy, and President Museveni is working for a legacy for himself, children, and the whole of this country. So definitely, if you just want to politic, you have your 5 years, you will do whatever you do, but history will then judge you. And indeed, that's why we are saying...
I think you're stuck in old politics.
No,
if, like you said, the new politics prescribes that you bring that caliber of fishermen to counter the new force on the block, why not?
You see, I'm in this program, I think, to balance. Not to it could be, I'm here, they say, to say this is the best practice. However, if we want, let our country be ruled by politicians who come and want, that's why I oppose this 5-year tenure thing of everything for 5 years. And in a way, this kingdom actually, which is being built even by politics, some of the Ugandans have now opted to sort of the kingdom establishment of individualism. And because then some of them think it is now, it will give us more sustainability because we've moved away from the ideal of the 1986. The ideal of 1986 was there. And I was checking in the cabinet of 1986. And I was looking at, I was following up the values of those men. And many of them departed because of values. Actually, most of the people who departed from the cabinet since 1986 is because of upright values. And up to now, you journalists, go and interview these people. And you see everyone seems to agree that Uganda is regressing, it's moving backwards.
Honorable Lulume, when you're just walking in, Prof made a point that this is a cabinet that was brought on board to counter the narrative of the current opposition. Does this suggest a shift in politics, which you have not read yourself?
Well, I read, but I am also cognizant of the fact that President Museveni is a master of his game. I will not depart from what I described the fishermen cabinet as. It was a mobilizational cabinet, and that is what exactly President Museveni had lacked, like he told not.
Yeah, but Honorable Pendi said they disproved the naysayers, and they have really performed to expectation.
Indeed, they have mobilized, they have been on the ground, no doubt about that one, but the cabinet was in autopilot. Even without them, things would move anyway. Because even questions that were asked could not get really answers or even fixing problems. Many questions. Actually, the tough questions could not even be tackled.
Mention one.
No. They are very many.
The camera mentioned one.
One question.
Which was not answered.
What is the stock of public land that Buikwe or Uganda have that you know about? Stock of public land that you have.
Was it ever raised in the floor?
I raised it myself.
To who?
To the Prime Minister. Gave no answer and then was shielded and said, you know, when you are bringing such questions, you need to to give it time so that research is done. And nothing actually was done. Have I answered your question? Please. I am alert.
I don't remember you asking.
So,
I don't remember you asking.
but you have always been absent.
Okay, as we cross to Afro Mobile, yes.
Before the government
before
knows
you
how
go,
much land